Tracking your habits can feel like the ultimate life hack. You log your progress, stay motivated, and build your dream routine, right? But how many times have you started out tracking a habit in that way with the best of intentions, only for it not to quite work out like that? In this video, I'm diving into the hidden traps within habit tracking that no one ever really seems to talk about and how they can derail your progress. And hopefully, by the end of this video, you should be able to avoid some of these common pitfalls the next time you decide to start a new habit. Okay, let's start by talking about these damn things, because this is where most habit tracking systems live these days. Tracking habits using a smartphone app like Habitify, which is the one that I use, seems like a great idea, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Sure, tracking habits on a smartphone is massively convenient. It's right there in your pocket, ready to remind you, to nudge you, to keep you on track. You might even have it linked up to your smartwatch. But how many times have you picked up your phone with good intention, only to find yourself lost in an entirely different part of the online world for far longer than you ever intended? If the answer is never, well, you're doing a lot better than I am. It might even be the very reason you're watching this video, because you went on your phone for some entirely different reason, you got a notification about this video. If so, well, thank you for watching, but I'm sorry. Now get back on with what you were doing. And as I record this video, Australia is in the process of banning social media for kids, which, as a parent of a young child, is something that I'm watching eagerly. But let's face it, it's not just kids that are struggling here. I've had to put all kinds of boundaries in place just to stop myself from mindlessly doom scrolling on Instagram. Even the Oxford English Dictionary's word of 2024 is brain rot. Pretty much says it all. Look, these devices are incredible tools. I'm not saying you should ditch it altogether, but they're also expertly designed distractions. So what happens when the tool you're using to build focus is also the biggest thing that is pulling your attention away? So while it's really tempting to rely on your smartphone to track habits, here's the catch. These apps might help you stay consistent, but they also tether your progress to one of the biggest distractions we have in the modern world. If the goal of habit tracking is focus and growth, is your phone really the best place to start? Look, while we're on this subject, this whole issue of smartphone, social media addiction, something I've noticed a lot of my family, friends, and clients struggling with. And as I've mentioned, it's an area where I've had to do a lot of work. And I'm happy to make some videos around the strategies that I've put in place to maximize the utility of these damn things whilst minimizing the distraction. If that's of interest to you, let me know in the comments down below and I'll make some of those videos. Okay, let's go to the other end of the habit tracking spectrum, to a simpler, more old school alternative. One of the easiest ways to track a habit is to go analog. Good old fashioned pen and paper. And it's famously said that Jerry Seinfeld used this method. Write a joke every day, mark it on a calendar, and after a few days you've got a chain. Then all you've got to do is not break the chain. It's simple, visual, and really motivating. And this can work brilliantly for tracking a single habit. Want to track the habit of walking daily? Well, stick a calendar by your front door, and as soon as you get back from a walk, cross it off. A few days later, there it is, a streak staring back at you. Then all you've got to do is not break that streak. But here's the challenge. What happens when your life gets messy? You're traveling, your schedule's packed, or you want to track more than one habit. That trusty calendar doesn't exactly work so well. And sure, you can move to a paper journal. We all know what happens next. It just gets buried under a pile of paperwork, forgotten for weeks. The magic of analog tracking lies in its simplicity, but that same simplicity can become its downfall. Without the daily reminder of that unbroken chain staring back at you, motivation can fade fast. The challenge is finding a way to hold on to that visual motivation without losing momentum when things get chaotic. Now, this brings us back to the app-based habit tracking. These tools solve a big problem. They're portable, they're always with you, and they do something that a piece of paper can't. They send you a notification. You can set time-based reminders, location-based ones, and it's really cool, except it opens up a whole new trap. And it's a trap that I fell into myself with a magnesium supplement that I take in the evenings to optimize my sleep. Now, I made a video all about that. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link up here. But at first it worked perfectly. I'd got a notification set up for 5 p.m, which was great because I was usually in or around the kitchen at that time, and I could act straight away on it because that's where I kept the supplement. And just to be sure, I had a backup alarm for 7 p.m. for the times that I missed. And this system was basically rock solid. I didn't miss a day for an entire year. But by then, common wisdom says that the habit should be automatic, right? So I thought, I don't need to track this habit anymore. But here's the problem. As soon as I stopped tracking, the habit vanished. And I couldn't really understand it at first, and then it hit me. The cue for the habit wasn't my evening routine or my memory, it was the notification on my phone. The app was doing all the heavy lifting. I'd built my habit around a digital crutch. And this might be fine if you're happy to live your life by your phone's notifications, but I am definitely not. So there I was, back at square one, trying to rebuild the habit using a non-digital cue. And that's the danger. When the app becomes the habit's backbone, it's not really your habit anymore. The real challenge is to figure out how to build habits that survive when you take the app or the tracking away. It's not that I have a major issue with 1 or 2 notifications. The real problem with these app trackers is how habits tend to multiply. You see, we start making good progress in one area of our lives, and then suddenly it's like, game on! We think we can transform our entire life this way. Before we know it, we're not just tracking our water intake, we're also logging a whole load of other things. Daily yoga, journaling, meditation, learning piano, learning French, learning Spanish, and a wide range of circus skills while we're at it. It's easily done. I've been there. It doesn't work, as evidenced by the fact that I still can't hula hoop. And sometimes we just track because we can, which leads us to track the wrong things. This is sort of what's known as the McNamara fallacy, where we over-focus on data points that are easy to measure, whilst ignoring the qualitative stuff that is what really matters. Now, as long-term subscribers to this channel will be aware, I'm not exactly the most consistent at putting videos out, and in order to remedy this, I once tried to establish the habit of writing for 4 hours a day. I did it. It was hard, probably overly ambitious and not sustainable. But here's the thing. I wasn't actually being productive. I was just being a busy idiot. I spent weeks over-obsessing over the minor details of a script that, as it turns out, wasn't even that good by the time I finished it. I was tracking the wrong metric, spending more time writing when that wasn't actually contributing to the outcome that I wanted. And it's a really easy trap to fall into. But perhaps the biggest pitfall of habit tracking is what happens when you break a habit. It can trigger what I call the "oh f*** it" response. It's that all or nothing mentality when missing one day makes you feel like you may as well just not bother at all. And James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits and suggests a remedy. Just don't miss twice. Yeah, life gets in the way and you miss one day, fine. Just make sure you don't miss twice. Get straight back on it the next day. And this is great. But what happens when you miss twice? And this is really common when it comes to addictive behaviors like alcohol, smoking, food addiction. And it can be a really easy way to feel like a complete failure at something that had been going so well. You end up feeling completely rubbish about yourself, even though this is a normal part of the process of addiction recovery. And finally, let's be honest, sometimes we just end up tracking stuff purely for the sake of tracking it. We get hooked on that little dopamine burst when we tick that box and hear that ding and see the little graphic pop up on the screen. But that's not what this should be about. It should be about the development of a habit that is supporting the future version of yourself that you want to grow into. See, habit tracking isn't just about ticking boxes or hitting streaks. It's about the person you're becoming. Every habit you track, every action you take is a vote for the identity that you're building for yourself. But here's the catch. If the act of tracking itself starts to feel like a chore, a distraction, or a burden, you're no longer casting votes for the right future version of yourself. You're just adding noise. Strip your habit tracking back to the essentials. Focus on tracking habits that align with the identity that you want to create and keep your process simple and meaningful. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress towards a future you can be proud of. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I will see you in the next video.